Guys, I wanted to share another site. This is Zuheros Castle in Spain. And basically, I just wanted to kind of focus on one spot, the narrative that they're giving us for what we're seeing, and just start kind of breaking it apart. So, very little, if any, articles mention the rock. This is probably the best description of what we're seeing, which is that it's nestled in rock. So, let's jump on in and take a closer look. Okay, so does this look nestled in rock? Everything I looked into regarding this, I was looking for specifically the geological explanation, of which this is limestone. It's on a limestone cliff. And the archaeological interpretation of what we're seeing. But no, I didn't get either one of those. It went straight to history, because that's how they control these kind of locations. They use these dramas, like a soap opera, to distract the brain. And for most people, that's sufficient because it's more comfortable than really analyzing what we see in front of us. I want to know how this is fused together and how we have these bulbousy boulders up here just wedged into the wall. So a lot of naysayers will say that this is geopolymer or acid rain, or let's see, cultural layers, erosion, or that it's just really old and that's how they did shit back then. But you can see there's like this archway here. You can see compressed brick lines. It's closed up with more boulder, more melted structure. And why would they build it that way? You can see this is like flowing down. So you're telling me they intentionally built it that way? Or that acid rain did that? Or that it's geopolymer? Or that they built it to look melted? All these like mental gymnastics that people do to try to make the narrative fit, instead of just trusting your own eyes. You have to trust your own eyes and your own research, because they're not going to feed you this information. The ones that are printing the school books, dominating the narrative that's taught to college students to regurgitate, so that everyone else can memorize the same story, or the films, they're not going to tell us this. And look at this one here. Look at these boulders that are just suspended in the air, like they built this masonry around these boulders. Look at the ground. Why would they leave the ground like that? It looks dangerous. And this looks melted. Look at it flowing over these steps. It's blackened, it looks charred, and it looks melted. Looks like part of that wall melted and it flowed over onto part of the steps. And look at this. This is a really good transition point. So you can tell that there was more heat. The intensity was much greater on the left side versus the right side. I mean, you can see where everybody would agree that all this is, quote, rock. And then here we have kind of a mix match, and it's starting to look more constructed, kind of irregular stonework. But then as it continues, you can clearly see that this is obvious masonry. I mean, if my assessment is wrong, like, I can humble myself. I know I don't know all the answers. I don't have it all figured out. But one thing for sure is I know that their narrative is not true, because it does not match what we see. I mean, for me, it seems pretty obvious, unless I come across some shocking new developments that, are pointing to another explanation, basically. Like, this isn't hard to see, but it's hard to accept. It's pretty heavy, because the way that we understand history and the place where we are in the timeline and all that, it's really part of our psychology, part of our identity. And so if that's challenged or proven wrong, all that knowledge that we think we know, it can really be taken as like a personal attack, and it can be overwhelming. to try to reorientate yourself to, not knowing what am I looking at? How did this happen? What happened? Could it happen again? What does that mean as far as all the history I thought I knew that I was taught about geology, about historical figures and events and these structures and all that kind of stuff. So here's a picture from further out where you can see the limestone rocky cliff, and you can see where it's, see the archway there that's plugged up. You can see where it's, formed to the structure. You can tell it's this material and this material are one and the same. Okay. And you can also see there's more pockets of survival down here and just little walls here. And you can also make out, once you look into this, look at that archway right there. Once you look into this research, it's like you gain new eyes, and you can't unsee this once you see it. So this back here to me looks like it was a tower, and it's just destroyed now. I can see forms and silhouettes down here of what used to be structure as well. This looks like it got blistering hot, and there are tons of examples of this, okay? This is just one location. Just one location, okay? And they say this was built in the 9th century, or founded. They say it was founded in the 9th century. Look at that red brick embedded in that very damaged, bubbly looking wall. And then in the 11th and 12th century, you had Christians and Muslims warring and all this drama, just more drama to distract your mind. And this is another section of this like little complex. And you can see we have the same, there's a pattern, a very clear pattern you see whenever you look into this, and the pattern becomes predictable. You can predict the type of damage that you're probably going to find, and you can predict the type of narratives that you will be given to explain it away. So you have this, rubbly stuff that we're supposed to believe that they built this section on top of, but then you've got this floating boulder, again, that they created masonry around. Like, if I'm wrong, please somebody show me some evidence that proves otherwise. Because from everything that I've looked into thus far, and I've been looking into this for almost 3 years, about 3 years, it seems to me that there was a mega civilization, a massive population, unimaginable amount of people, because we find structure everywhere we look. So there was a huge civilization. They weren't warring and shit, because you can't build castles everywhere for everybody to live in if you're all, fighting and dying of the plague and all that, or you're all peasants, So we find these pockets everywhere, and it seems that this mega civilization got wiped out. And that's why all these sites, it's just like suddenly the people just disappeared. There's just no more people there, And it's, I think it's because they got wiped out by a cataclysm. It's not that they just suddenly abandoned their castles. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think this is another pocket. Possibly this is in the same area. And I think these formations in the back are more melted structure. You can see here it looks like it's melting down. This water is probably a busted spring, busted plumbing. You can see there's these walls here are constructed. And you got these weird pipes just sticking up, bent over. I don't know what those were for or why they would have them there in the modern world, but they're not being used right now. So anyway, that's about it. I'll wrap it up. I just want to share this site and see what you guys think. Later.